This special study session, the study session of the Albion City Council. This is Saturday, September 15th, 2018. I call this meeting to order. If you have a cell phone, I ask that you place it on silent. We'll begin with a roll call. Clerk Domingo.
Councilmember Barnes.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Lawler.
Here.
Spicer.
Here.
French.
Here.
And Mayor Brown.
Here. This morning we are going to be conducting interviews for the city manager position. In front of each of the council persons we have template questions, and what we're going to do, we'll probably just kind of go in circular fashion, and we'll just kind of pick up with the next candidate to make sure everyone gets a chance to ask a question. If time permits, it's going to be about 45 minutes per candidate, and if time permits at the end, we're going to allow for open questioning from council of the candidates. Please note, as I said before we started, in the back, there are some questions that are inappropriate to ask of interviewees, so please be aware and cognizant of that. And with that, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I've only one thing to add. Thank you, Mayor. Hopefully I can project well for a camera. In addition to 4 packets of questions that you have for notes for each of the candidates, you have in front of you the comments that were received from the public forum. I would suggest, Mr. Mayor, if you're willing to entertain maybe 5 minutes or so until all the members can read through them.
Okay.
Before we actually start the candidates.
Okay.
I do think it's good for council members to receive these comments. As a reminder, we had a public forum last evening. Each candidate was interviewed between 30 and 35 minutes. The public there was asked to provide comments on written cards. I've transcribed those cards mostly verbatim, except to correct spelling, not include comments that were not legally appropriate, and not include comments that were not related to process or candidates. And that was only one case for each of those. So you have the verbatim comments from the public that decided to turn in the comment cards last evening. Thank you very much for all those that attended. It was great public turnout and participation. The candidates have drawn numbers for order again. When I was down there, we had 3 candidates, and hopefully we have 4 by now. So I will bring them up in that random order that they selected numbers.
Okay. So we're going to just take a couple minutes and just review that.
Can you tell us who those numbers, what order they are in?
Yes, if I remember.
Oh, good Lord.
I believe LaTonya was first. I think Jeff Watson was 2, Megan was 3, and Patrick was 4.
Who was first?
LaTonya.
Oh, Rufus.
And then Jeff 2, Megan 3, Patrick 4.
So just as a reminder to council, we'll probably just start with Councilmember Lawler, and then, because it, yeah. Huh?
Start with number one.
Just start over there.
Okay.
Step up.
I'm just,
Stepping up. Don't look at me. I'll go first.
I didn't say anything.
Here, I'll just come over here.
I just need a nap.
Then I'll start.
I just need a nap.
Who decided 8 o'clock? How was that decided?
four interviews, probably like an hour framework for each, 4 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, but why not at 1 in the afternoon?
Oh, I really ain't gonna make it at 1:00.
Healthy Babies Day, in the What's He Voters Drive. There's like a whole bunch of
I
stuff.
wasn't gonna make it. I'd have been asleep. I'm glad
Yeah, you're used to this time of morning, aren't you?
you get up for work. I was asleep.
Yeah, but I count on the weekends to make up for all the lost sleep, right?
I understand that. I'm the same
I got
way.
church tomorrow, so I don't get to sleep in for that, so yeah.
Sleep in at all, till next weekend.
Yeah.
But that's
Oh, don't even
Festival.
get started. Oh, I hadn't even thought that far ahead, Sonia, come on.
It's a loser, just wait for
Sleep.
school break.
So sleep is overrated, right?
Now make it up, it's just lost sleep. It is not overrated.
So are we going to read the
I'll
question?
take a nap this afternoon in front of football.
We're gonna read the questions. We're just gonna go in a circle.
Question 3 and then.
No, she has 4.
I'll have 4.
No, she'll have 3. Yeah.
He's trying to confuse you. And then we'll go around.
I did.
You just go after me, just remember.
I thought you was having my.
He's cheat
Thank you.
Can you Jane.
Thank
I'm gonna count you to the timekeeper.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Okay.
The first question, Mr. Mayor, is an availability for the candidate to introduce themselves.
Okay.
So I won't be doing an introduction of the candidate. That first question is their opportunity.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Again,
Good morning,
welcome.
Mayor. How are you today, sir?
Pretty good. Again, welcome to the city of Albion. And so we're gonna, if you're ready there, I'll let you get ready. Okay. And we're gonna just kind of start with just a round of questions.
No problem. Yes, sir.
Councilmember Spicer.
I shall begin. Good morning, Ms.
Good
Rufus.
morning, Ms. Spicer. How are you today, ma'am?
Good, thank you. Welcome. First question for you is, can you please outline your reasons for wanting to be the next city manager of Albion?
Well, a couple of reasons. I have gone for a few changes. I saw a lot of development in Albion. I was really interested in the town, small town, very close-knit community, and I realized that in this particular community that everyone here knows one another. I went to the grocery store yesterday. I met a guy named Frank. That's his name. He said his family has been here for over 60 years, and I've been in communities where everyone knew each other, everyone has grown to know each other, and I just felt that same feeling when I came to Albion yesterday, actually. I've been in many communities where I've never, you know, and Chicago is a really big town, so you don't get to know everybody in the city because it's so huge. So I've always worked in small communities where I've gotten to know the people, gotten to be very close and to a lot of individuals that and stakeholders in the community. So I saw Albion to be that same type of community. I also saw that Albion was looking for change. There is a lot of things that I've done in my professional career that I think that I can bring to this community. And I was looking for a change. I was looking for something that was different from what I had been used to. In the South suburban areas in Chicago, you get to meet a lot of the county commissioners, you get to meet state representatives. I've been in Illinois since I've gotten out of college, so I was looking to do something different in this particular area. I have family and sorority sisters and friends that live in Michigan. I was looking for a change. I was looking to do something different in my career, so that is one of the reasons why I looked into the city of Albion. I also saw a lot of the development that you were looking to do. I read over your comprehensive plan. I read through your capital improvement plan. I read through your zoning ordinances. I reviewed council meetings, and it was very clear that for me, that this was the next place I needed to be. I have been in municipal government since I've gotten out of college. I have over 20 years experience in municipal government. I've been the assistant village manager in the village of Round Lake. I've done the city manager's job, city administrators or village administrator's job in many communities that I've been in. And that's one of the reasons that I look to get a master's in public administration so I can move into that next level of government. And so I search for communities that are in need of my skills and abilities and in a place that I can grow with the community. Individuals that I met yesterday, they were very nice. They were very welcoming, which was very comfortable for me. I like to be in a place that's very welcoming so that I can be able to move and relate to the individuals in the town so that I can be able to take a city to the next level. So that is some of the reasons why I looked into Albion.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Rufus, good morning.
Good morning.
Based on your research and understanding of the city, what do you believe are the most important opportunities and challenges for the city in the near term, and how would you approach these?
In driving around the city of Albion, two of the things that I saw that was very important, well, three. One was economic development and the expand of your business community. Your downtown is growing. I saw that there was some infrastructure work that was done in your downtown area. I also saw that the housing in this particular community, we do, and I'm saying we, and I apologize if I'm speaking in advance, but I believe that the city of Albion, really we need to work on the housing stock in the community. The code enforcement department probably needs to do a little more in ensuring that everyone meets the codes that have been established within the community. And I would like to also work on infrastructure, housing, and economic development. I think those are the biggest things that I saw in this particular town. Infrastructure being one, because that is how you bring economic development to the community. Housing is second, because they want to make sure any retailer, anyone that is bringing tax dollars into the community want to make sure that you have the residents that'll be able to sustain the particular development that you're bringing. And I just think that that's the way you're going. I've done my research, I've ridden around, I've talked, and actually yesterday when I went to the grocery store just to get some chips, I met like 20 people, and everybody here was just so nice and pleasant. So I really believe that with the proper direction, the town can move into the next level. And because of what I've read, all the information that you have online, I believe that those goals can be met with the proper leadership. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
If selected as the city manager, please tell us how you would approach building trust and respect of the employees and the community.
Excuse me, can you repeat the last part of your question? I couldn't hear you. I apologize, Ms. Reed. I couldn't hear what
If
you said.
selected as the city manager, please tell us how you would approach building trust and respect of the employees and the community.
Well, two things. I'm a very inclusive person. I believe that with employees, they need to know what's going on. I know some things are privileged to administrative staff and elected officials. So there is a line that cannot be crossed. But I also want to ensure the employees that I have their best interests at heart. I believe in training and development and professional growth. And I want them to understand that as the city manager, city administrator, or leader of the community, that they can trust me to know that I have their best interests at heart. Not just the employees, but also the community. I believe in having town hall meetings. I believe in having staff meetings. I believe in having meetings with the administrative team to ensure that we are promoting the vision of the city. That's very, very important. For me, I've worked for several communities, and consulting for the last few months, I have experience with redeveloping businesses. I've trained new businesses that were in town. I've trained their employees. I've done reorganizational development. Sometimes in municipal government, staff sometimes does not feel that their interests are being met. And I believe that you have to meet the staff's interests. It's very important. Every staff member, whether it is the administrator, whether it's the director of any particular department, all the way down to the janitor, everybody's treated the same. All the rules are the same. The employee manual tells you what you need to do and what you need to follow, and that's very important. And I want everybody to know that I'm going to be stern, but I'm going to be fair. And that's very important. So I will build my trust by getting them to understand that I'm honest and I'm dependable. And I have an open door policy. I believe that you can come and speak to me about any problem. And like I said yesterday, there is no problem that cannot be solved. And I'll work tirelessly to ensure that they get solved. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The next question is, please describe in detail your approach to municipal budgeting, including the process you will use to communicate important budget objectives to the city council.
Budgeting is very important. First, prior to even starting the budgeting process, you need to know the type of the monies, where the monies in the community are going, where they're coming from, and where they're generated from. That's very, very important. And most of the times, property taxes are the bulk of the income from most municipalities, whether it is commercial property tax, residential property tax. And so those are the things that you need to understand first. Secondly, you need to also understand the needs of the community. Finding out what the needs are is how you are going to be able to adequately budget the money in your community. You need to look at, okay, we need to pave the streets. We need to install street lighting. We need to install street signs. We need to upgrade some of our infrastructure within the community. So you have to, one, know what your capital improvement plan is so that you can adequately budget the money for the community. And then B, you also need to know how you're going to spend the money. And yesterday we even talked about how public safety is very important. And that's a lot of the budgets, a lot of the money in most budgets in most communities. It comes from public safety, police and fire. Your individuals in your community want to ensure that they are safe. But we also have to understand on the municipal side of the government is that you cannot have an excessive amount of overtime. You need to make sure that you adequately make sure that you have all of your police officers, all of your fire department staff working at a time that does not create a hardship for the municipality. Because that's what happens. And I'll be really honest with you, and I understand sometimes that I may be too honest, but that's just who I am. I want to tell you what it is so you can understand what it is. A lot of the fire department, police department, they say, hey buddy, I got a second job. Because they work 36 hours sometimes, so they own 36, off 24, 36 hours, depending on how their schedules are run. And so they work together to ensure that my crony has overtime, and so do I. But you cannot do that in municipal government. And as an administrator, you have to make sure that you address minimum manning so that you can make sure that your city is adequately policed and has adequate fire protection. But you also have to work with the police and fire chief to say, hey, you need to talk to your staff. You need to let them know this is the schedule, this is what we need to follow. Yes, we want to be protected, but we cannot hurt the city's budget. And I've known that those are things that have happened. And so once you know what your capital improvement plan is, once you know how to adequately address police and fire protection, and you can meet the needs of the community by making sure that all the services that they are looking for are being met, that is how I would look toward budgeting for a municipality. It's very important. I've done this for almost 20 years, and I've seen communities flourish with adequate budgeting, and I've seen communities fall because you've gone over budget, because you have not met the needs of the community. So as an administrator, I believe that being precise, being upfront, and being honest, not only with your staff and with the elected officials, but also with the community itself. I think that's very, very important in making sure your budget and you stay on track with meeting the community's needs.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Question number 5. The city is very interested in improving its success in applying for, receiving, and administering grants for important city priorities. Please provide your experience in administering grants and how you would approach implementing a successful grant application and management plan for the city.
I've been writing grants for the last 15 years. And my last, actually probably longer than that, but in my last municipal job, I have secured $14.1 million of grant funding from the city of Harvey, whether it be IKE grants, home grants, and also I have ensured that we receive grants for highways, street repair, alley repair. Through HUD, I've received brownfield money from South Suburban Mayors and Managers, which is the economic development branch for most of the South Suburban municipal governments, and working with them with revitalizing an area called Wyman Gordon, which was an old plant that was in the city of Harvey and in a neighboring community with the village of Dixmoor. So I'm used to working with neighboring communities, county officials, federal government, state agencies, to ensure that the city has the needs and the means to meet their goals. Municipalities cannot work specifically on tax dollars. Grant monies are there for municipalities to be able to seek those funds to leverage their resources, because that's what you need to do. And you need to understand that you're going to need those monies for brownfield redevelopment. Those are properties that people haven't taken advantage of, that have environmental issues. So you have to look for brownfield monies to be able to address those issues and clean those properties so that you can place them back on the tax rolls. Number two, a lot of the grant monies that we've also received was for demolition and housing repair and rehab. And so I've utilized those monies for that as well. And I just believe that just no is not an answer. So, okay, no is today, but tell me what I need to do so yes can be tomorrow. And so you can't just say no. No just doesn't work. I just believe that grant monies, you may not have them today, and I know that they're on an annual cycle, but you can't stop. You just have to keep seeking grant dollars. And having $14.1 million of grant monies received to communities that I work for is a plus, but I also know that it's a tireless effort. You cannot accept no for answer. You just have to keep seeking those dollars to meet the needs of your community.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Really glad that you're here. What do you consider as essential in the relationship between a city manager and the city council? And how will you facilitate a productive relationship with the city council?
As a city administrator, I believe that you need to have open communication with all elected officials. I think I mentioned this yesterday, but early on in my master's degree program, at that time I worked for the city of Country Club Hills. And the mayor was one of my professors at that time. He put 2 lines on the board. He said, these are the city administrators and these are the elected officials. And the only people that go across these lines are elected officials. Administrators need to stay in their place. That is some of the best advice I've ever received that was not textbook given. And that has helped me so much in my professional career, because I believe that everyone that's been elected has been given the opportunity to represent the individuals that have elected them. So you're here because there are individuals in the community that believe that you have their best interests at heart. And as an administrator, you need to A, ensure that you're meeting the needs of the community, and B, that you're ensuring that the elected officials get to keep the promises. I understand that. I've been in municipal government a very long time, and I know that elected officials make promises to their constituents, and so as an administrator, you need to make sure those promises are met. That's just what you do. If you're unable to do that, then you shouldn't be an administrator. I'm being very honest. But I also know that as an administrator, you're a professional. You make sure that you provide the elected officials with the information that they're requesting of you. You give it to them in a timely fashion. You have an open door policy, because as an administrator, you work at the pleasure of the mayor and elected officials. So if you are not meeting the needs of the community, you're definitely not meeting the needs of the elected officials. And as long as I've been in municipal government, as a director of community development, building and zoning administrator, assistant village manager, all those jobs that I've had in my professional career, I understand that the elected officials are very important in this process. Most times they are aware of what's going on in the community. They talk to the residents. And so as an administrator, you have to understand that their goals have to be met as well. So you have to understand what the elected officials are looking for. And so as an administrator, you have to be versatile. You have to be open. You have to be honest. And you have to be dependable. And for me, I believe that open communication is the best. So most of the time, if I am chosen to be the next manager here, You'll get emails, text messages, memos. I crack jokes because one of my friends say that I memo them to death. But for me, I'm okay with that, because I believe that if everybody has all the information, we have no discrepancy. So if I give a memo to Councilman Spicer and Councilman Brown and Councilman Reed, then the councilman on this side, Lawler, French, and Burns, will have the same information. And so I want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're working toward the goals and moving the municipality forward.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad you're here today.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited for Albion and the interviews that are going on today. The question I have is, what do you see as the city manager's role in communicating with the press and public, and how specifically do you plan to be successful in communicating with our community?
I believe that it's 2018. The internet is booming. Everybody looks for information online. But I also believe that there needs to be a little more personable information. I talked yesterday about having town hall meetings in everybody's precinct or district. You have to be in that particular precinct or district so that the individuals in that community know exactly what's going on. Yes, I've done newsletters for an entire municipality. Yes, I've written newsletters for specific departments. Yes, I have been a part of a lot of these processes, but until you are smack dab in that particular area, knowing what's going on with those individuals, you have to, as I found, and I have friends that have been in government just as long as I have, that have never ever been in the communities in which they serve. I mean, they've been at city council meetings, yes. But when I talk about going into the community and talking to the residents, they haven't done that. And I don't think you can be an effective administrator without doing that. So for me, I think that if Councilman Brown says, okay, Ms. Rufus, I have a resident that has this issue with her landlord. She may not be the only person that has the issue with her landlord. So you have to go into these communities and have actual meetings. Come into City Hall, expressing your complaints and concerns. A lot of residents do that. But when you make government accessible to them by actually going into the area in which they live, then they feel more comfortable with you. I want people to be able to come and talk to me. I haven't been in my last place of employment for a little over a year because I've done consulting work for the past year or so. I still have residents to this day that still call me. I still have former staff members that call me. That's because I believe in people coming to you, asking you questions, being open, and being able to get them to understand that I'm here to serve you. You're a public servant, and a lot of people forget that. As an administrator, I may be a professional, but I am a public servant. I am here to serve the public. And that's what I would plan to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again. Can you please describe the process you would utilize to recruit and select talented staff with attention to making sure the candidate pool reflects the diversity of the community?
The one thing that's most important is that you have to understand the demographics of the community in which you work. You cannot select a candidate for a community without knowing the needs of the community. One, you want to make sure they have the adequate educational background. You want to make sure that they're very personable. You want to make sure that they're going to meet the needs of that particular department. I have chosen staff for planning and economic development because that was my initial background. I've chosen secretarial staff, public works staff, police staff, and what I found with the police staff that was for me, what I found when selecting police officers is that policemen go through, their process is a lot different from a regular staff person. They take them through personality challenges, they do physical agility, same with the fire department. And so you want to make sure that the individuals that you choose for any community, police, fire, planning, public works, that they're mentally stable to handle the job that they're given. Because municipal work isn't easy. People think, oh, I want a municipal job, but they don't understand the work that comes behind that. This isn't a 9 to 5. I'll tell you, I've been up at midnight at a fire just to make sure the property was structurally sound and the individuals that lived in that property was safe. I could have sent the inspectors to do that, but that's something I had to make sure happened because I needed to be comfortable and I need to sleep at night. So you need to make sure the person is mentally stable. You need to make sure they're hardworking, and you gotta make sure that they are willing to sacrifice for a community. A lot of times they don't do that. So yes, you may have the educational background to do the job. Yes, you may have all the qualifications, certifications to do a job, but you have to get to know a person. And so sometimes there's extra interviews that may need to be made to make sure that they're ready to handle the needs of the community. I'm a hard worker, I'm dependable, I work late, I get up early, because any community in which I work for, I need to make sure that I am responsible. I have to sleep at night. I don't like to get calls in the middle of the night and say, oh, Ms. Rufus, we had a fatality. That does not happen to me at all. As a city administrator, every single department head needs to make sure I know what's going on in the community that I work for at any given time. Police, fire, public works, it just doesn't happen. And if the administrator doesn't know what's going on, the council doesn't know what's going on, and the mayor wouldn't know what's going on. I may text you at 1 o'clock in the morning, hey, we had a fire over here on Center. Just so you know, I don't believe in residents telling councilmen things that I don't know about. That just shouldn't happen anywhere. It just shouldn't happen. So you have to be dedicated to the community in which you work for. So those are the things that I'm interested in. Those are the things that I believe in, and that is how you choose adequate staff. You have to know that they're willing to go far and beyond the call of duty for that particular job.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have the next question.
Yes,
Just
ma'am.
1 second, please. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Please describe a situation you handled where the community faced a contentious issue with strong diverging opinions. And what did you learn from this experience?
A couple things. Excuse me. There was a situation in the community that I worked for where the Hispanic population was growing, and in this particular community, they have a lot of food carts, and so of course you don't want 50 food carts all around town. So I had to create and personally written ordinances to address the needs of that community. So I wrote a food vendors license ordinance, very similar to the one in the city of Chicago and some of the other communities. And so you have to make sure that the community realizes that you're going to address their needs. So in my mind, after speaking to the alderman of that particular ward, the goal was this. Okay, we need to address this because they're going to do it. You don't want to arrest someone that's trying to make a living feeding their family. So I created a food vendor's license. I said that you had to at least be 2 blocks from every major thoroughfare, and you need to have adequate food handler's license, and you can only be here between this hour and this hour. You have to have permission from the property owner. I need to see that in writing. And then what it ended up doing is also creating additional revenue for the city because there was additional business license fees that came along with that. So initially what was happening prior to me writing this ordinance was that I was having police officers call me and say, Ms. Rufus, they don't have a license. Well, you're not going to arrest local residents for trying to take care of their family. So we need to address the concern at hand. So, okay, you know that they're gonna come out. You know that they're going to sell items on a particular street. The city of Chicago has vendor's licenses. It's a lot larger. So you have to cater ordinances to meet the needs of the community in which you're in. So I wrote a food handler's license, a food vendor's license. It created additional revenue for business license fees. And we also got to meet the needs of the community. And settling a dispute that could have went one of two ways, but it actually became a win-win for everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
She's writing.
Number 10, please describe a situation when you've disagreed with your governing board. How did you approach the difference of opinion and explain the final results of that situation?
Very good question.
You're smiling.
As the TIF administrator, a lot of times I was the economic development person in most communities I've been in. So being the TIF administrator, what I found is that a lot of times developers go directly to the councilman or directly to the chairman of a subcommittee of the council to get their projects done. In the city of Harvey, what I'm talking about is public knowledge on the internet. There was a former hotel that needed to be redeveloped, and I was not in agreement with the development plan or development process. The same thing with the old DC Square Mall I talked about, where they drove the car through the Blues Brothers. And I mean, we've had tons and tons of plans. At Dixie Square Mall, they wanted a moratorium, they wanted, a crematorium, they wanted townhouses, a cemetery. In the middle of town, that's what you would put in the middle of town on a major thoroughfare? Absolutely not. And so I was very adamant about it, and I didn't let it happen. We had a former hotel deal. I told them that it wasn't going to work. As a professional, I have to always provide my professional opinion. And I'm not gonna just say, this is what LaTonya Rufus thinks. I'm going to say, this is what Ms. Rufus thinks, and here's the background information as to why I believe that. I will never give you an opinion without providing you documentation as to why I believe in a particular project or particular program. I am going to research something to the end of time. I'm gonna call everybody I know in the profession that I've seen, I've dealt with. It's very ironic. I have a friend that I've had since the very first day I went to college at 17. He's a city manager in a community right outside of Chicago, and we're friends to this day. We go to ICSC together, which is the the International Shopping Council event that they have every year in Vegas. And I just believe that you have to research a project, a program to no end to make sure you are doing the best thing for that community. I can't sleep at night when things worry me. So I have to make sure that I have given you all of the information, all of the documentation that's needed. Now, as elected officials, you have the final say. But as long as I have given you the information, I'm comfortable with that. But I want to make sure you have everything that you need. I will not leave no rock unturned. And once you have the information as an elected official, you do with it as you please. And I'm comfortable with that. Whatever your decision is. No hard feelings, no grudges, no any of that. As long as I've provided you with my professional opinion and told you why, whatever decision the council makes is what it is. I'm not here to make, I haven't been elected. You've been elected to serve your community. I've been hired to meet the professional needs of the community. Once I give you my professional opinion and the research, the council may make the decision, and I roll with whatever you make and make the best of it.
Thank you. If someone were to Google search you, what would they find regarding your past public positions, and is there any information or background you'd like to provide regarding the publicly available information about you?
Absolutely. They found that I shut down a strip club where a young man got shot because he was underage and he shouldn't have been there. I don't feel bad about that. Went there in the middle of the night, put a non-occupancy sign on the door, and I'm comfortable with those things because they weren't supposed to be open in the first place. They said that they were opening as a sports bar and grill. That's what they told the city. I believe in following the rules. That's what I'm going to do. You can search me, find me, whatever. I believe in following the rules. I don't have any hidden agendas. I have friends that I've known since I was 2 years old in elementary school. I have friends that I've met in college, my sorority sisters, Eastern Star Sister church members. The one thing that they will all tell you about LaTonya Rufus is she is going to tell you how it is. It will be said professionally, it will be said nicely, and it will be said with tact. I just believe in being honest with people because that's just who I am. I don't always do things in an orthodox manner. Sometimes it's unorthodox. Sometimes it's out of the box. And sometimes you have to think out of the box to move communities to the next level. You can't always do everything cookie cutter. But you'll find that that's just who I am. I don't lie, cheat, and steal. I just don't do it. I just don't. I just don't. And that's very important. I just don't do it. But I want everybody to know that I'm a good person. I have a good heart. I'll go out of my way for anybody, give somebody the last dollar I have. But I believe in doing what's right. And as long as you do what's right, you can sleep at night.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You noticed me texting and reading. I want you to know that I have 7 people who I consider in my cabinet, and I was getting their comments on the interview with you yesterday. So
yes.
I want to know that's why I was reading some of their comments.
No problem, yes,
I want
sir.
to make the decision with people more experienced than this. However, question number 12 is, community involvement is important to the city. Please describe how you would plan to personally become involved in the community.
A couple of things. Number one, and I understand the separation between church and state, but you also have to know who your pastors are in the community. So you have to have ministerial conferences and talk to the pastors and find out what's going on in their congregation so you can meet the needs of their congregation as well. That's first and foremost. You just have to know them. Number 2, I believe in having town hall meetings in various precincts or districts. That's also important. Number 3, you have to also have an open door policy or a form of communication with the residents for them to be able to address their concerns to you. A lot of times as a city administrator, you cannot meet with residents all day, every day. When I first went to one of the municipalities, we used to have town hall meetings every Tuesday. The mayor was set up, they opened the door, 4 o'clock, you have residents there, administrative staff, we'd be there from 4 o'clock to sometimes 10 o'clock at night. That happens when you're new as an elected official because you don't know everything that's going on and you need to allow the residents to come in. And so we changed it from every Tuesday to once a month, and I will go to every single district once a month to meet with everyone in the community. You cannot move a city forward without knowing the needs of the community. You just can't. And I believe as elected officials, for me, I tip my hat to most elected officials because I don't want to be elected. I'll be honest and tell you, I just want to stay a professional. I want to do what it is that you need me to do to meet the needs of your constituents. That's where I stand. But I also know that I can't help you meet your needs if I don't know what's going on. If Councilman Brown said, hey, Ms. Rufus, I talked to Ms. Jones. She got a situation with a street. We got a broken water line over here. I'm not gonna send a director of public works. I'm gonna go myself, check out the situation, and then call the director of public works. I talked to Councilman Brown, I went over here, I saw what's going on. You have to know the community. And when I tell you yesterday, just driving around town, people knew I wasn't from here. This guy was like, oh, hey, how you doing? I've never seen you before. Who are you? I was like, oh, my name is LaTonya Rufus. Oh, you playing for the city administrator's job? I said, yes, sir, I am. And then they started to ask me questions. But that is how you get to know people. You have to be a people person in these jobs. You can't just sit in the office all day and type memos and send paperwork all around. You have to actually know what's going on. And that is why I go out in any community I've ever been in. Someone will tell you, oh, yeah, you remember Ms. Rufus? They'll tell you, yes, I do. She came to my house. She came to see what was going on with me. I had landlord and tenant meetings. I had the landlords go and form a landlord coalition to make sure that we weren't having bad tenants in our community. Sometimes you just have to go the extra mile. But I don't have a problem getting to know people. I think that's very important. At any job that you're in, you have to know the people in your town. Councilman French, you may have a situation. You may say, oh, Ms. Rufus, I talked to Ms. Jones and the street light's not working. I'm not gonna call somebody to see the street light's not working. I'm gonna wait till it gets dark. I'm gonna get up out of my house and go drive down that street to see if the street light is actually working. And I'm going to call you back and say, Councilman French, I went over there last night. You're absolutely right. The street light's not working. And I'm gonna call the individual that is responsible for ensuring that that street light is working and give them a set time to have it working. Because like I said before, no is not an answer. It's just not an answer. You need to give me a date and a time as to when it will be fixed. And you have to do that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
So, of the 13 that we have, if selected as the next city manager, what do you predict your tenure would be?
I'll be here as long as you have me. I don't have any connections, no ties or anything. I do have family, friends, and sorority sisters that live in Michigan. I've been in Illinois most of my life outside of going to college and just traveling around the country. I'm an avid line dancer, and not like country line dancing. I line dance, I've been to New York, California, Florida, Kentucky, and that's just what I do for recreational purposes. But I believe that when you come to a community, you stay there. Like I said, I have been in Harvey 15 years. The reason I decided to move from that particular community, and you can read that in my bio and the recommendations and everything that I submitted to you today. My fiance passed, and I just needed a change. I just needed a break from the everyday. So I started to work for businesses, so I can see the other side, so I can learn what businesses need, how to reorganize business, and how to get out and train their staff and get them incentives working specifically for them. But I also know that my passion is municipal government. So I needed to come back to doing what I know and I love. And so as long as the community will have me, that's exactly where I'll be. I'm not looking to move, I'm not looking to go anywhere. A little chilly here, but it's cold in Chicago too. So I've dealt with it all this time. I've been in the Midwest most of my life, so I'm sure I can handle the cold here as I have in Illinois.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So now, how much time do we have?
Mayor, you do have a few more minutes for more questions,
Okay.
and I'll let you know when the time comes.
So these are the non-scripted questions. So if council members have those, we've been instructed, so what not to ask. I have one, and then we're gonna just round robin here.
Yes, sir, Mayor. No problem.
If you had to explain council manager government, and there's strong mayor,
I'm
there's,
sorry, Mayor,
oh, I'm
I
sorry.
can't hear you.
There's different forms of municipal government, right? There's
Absolutely, yes, sir.
commissions, there's strong mayor, there's council manager. So if you had to explain to a citizen, I guess the essential, and it's kind of elaboration on question number 10, I believe. If you had to explain the essential contours of council manager form of government, what are those essential things that you would tell a citizen who didn't understand how a municipal government works versus, let's say, the state or federal?
I've had that happen to me before, Mayor, so I'm glad that you asked me that question. I've worked in communities where you have a strong mayor. Technically, weak council form of government is what they call it in Illinois. I've worked in communities where you have a mayor, an administrator, and a council where the administrator and the mayor handle the day-to-day operations of a community. I've worked in communities where the city manager handles the day-to-day operation of the community, and the city manager is the person that relates all that information to the elected officials and the mayor. And so I would tell a resident that if you have any issues as a city manager or administrator, please come tell me first. Because I would prefer, as I said earlier, that I don't want the elected officials to come to me to a problem with a resident that I haven't heard of. But sometimes residents feel more comfortable coming to council members, and so I'm okay with that too. But I don't like to not ever have an answer, and I don't like a resident to go to the elected officials and they not have an answer either. So everybody has to know what's going on. A lot of times in homeroom communities, you make your own rules, you decide how municipalities are run, you make your own ordinances, rules, regulations, and so you have to get a resident to understand that yes, I elected Councilman Lawler to represent me, and so I'm gonna go to her because this is who I feel comfortable with, and that's okay. But you also have to understand that as the administrator or department head, you have to be willing to answer those questions. And so it's not about who runs the government, it's not about who's in charge, it's always about solving the problem. That's how I look at municipal government. It's not about who's in charge. The mayor's always in charge. Everybody's gonna go to the mayor first. They say, oh, I elected Mayor Brown. Great. So you may get calls that I have no idea about because people are comfortable with you, sir. But once you call LaTonya Rufus to ask me how to handle those situations, I'm going to be on it so fast because I don't want them to call you back and say, Ms. Rufus didn't fix my problem. So it's not about explaining we have a strong mayor, we council form of government, because sometimes in layman terms that still is not going to get to a resident who has an issue with potholes or street lights or street signs or trees.
Good, thank you. Councilmember Barnes, Councilmember Lawler.
This question is twofold.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna give you the scenario
Okay.
first. My phone is full of comments from last night's meet and greet.
Okay.
Their concern is, hypothetically speaking, would you be a city manager who could stand up to Councilman Barnes, a mayor, and possibly a situation where that mayor has enough power to have you terminated? My real question, that's a scenario, my real question is, I'm looking for someone to be charismatic, someone to be a leader, someone has the ability to have people follow them. How can you answer that?
I'll say this, if, I passed out packets and letters of recommendation from my colleagues, my staff, and former administrators, and if you can read what my colleagues said about me, I've always been a leader amongst leaders. I'm the person that everybody always go to. That's first and foremost, because I want to make sure I have all the information. Number two, I will never have a staff member that does not feel comfortable coming to me about any situation. I've always had other department head staff come to me, but I've never had in my professional career, my staff go to someone else to ask information about any situation. Number two, when there are situations, I've had situations where I didn't agree with the mayor. I've had situations where the councilman didn't agree with me. But I am going to be the best professional that I can always be. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. I'm going to tell you my professional opinion with background information. Yes, any city administrator, any city manager, you understand that you serve at the pleasure of the mayor and the council. That's what it is. And if you don't understand it, I'm sorry. That's really what it is. To be honest with you, it's what it is. But for me, I have to make sure that I am doing the best job that I know how to do. I don't have a problem telling, okay, Mayor Brown, yes, I heard what you said, sir. But this is what it says. This is the research. This is your decision. I'm okay with that. But I've given you my professional opinion. Should I be hired as a city manager? I'll be delighted. I'll be ecstatic. I'll be close to my family and friends. That would be fantastic. But if I'm hired and it comes to a point that I have not fulfilled my duties, then guess what? I have to pull it all together and make that next step. But I'm willing to take that chance. You cannot move to the next level in your life if you're not willing to jump. I say it all the time, and I said it yesterday. My hashtag on my email say failure is not an option. I don't believe in that. It's just not. So yes, I'm a leader amongst leaders. I am going to excel. I am going to do whatever it is I have to do. And if you read the letters from my staff, if you call any one of my staff members right now that used to work for me, I push everybody to the limit. Everybody. When you come in the morning, I don't care what happened last night. Yes, I'm very close to my other staff members. I know all of their children that come to my house. I've been to Quinceañeras and all of that. I've been to all of those things. And I'm okay with that. But they know when they come to work for Ms. Rufus in the morning, you got to have your A game on point every day. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna ask you, okay, this is what we have to do today. These are the goals and objectives for today. Tell me where you are. Where is this at? Okay, the mayor asked for this. Did you do this? You can't be late fulfilling the duties of a community. You just can't. That's just not okay with me. So I'm gonna ask everybody to be at their peak level every single day. Come in with a positive and professional attitude. So I don't have a problem. The mayor says, Ms. Rufus, I don't agree with what you said. No problem, sir. But I've given you the information, and you do with it what you will. You deal with it and move on. Sometimes you don't agree. But as professionals, you have to agree to disagree and come to a happy medium so that everybody wins.
Thank you, and we have time for one final question, Councilmember Lawler.
Thank you, Mayor. What I am looking for, one of the things that I'm looking for in a city manager is how would you build relationship with like low-income families and things like that. A lot of low-income families feel like they're left out. So how would you go about dealing with that?
I will tell you that you can look at my resume, you can look at what I've done. I grew up in low-income housing as a kid till I was 12 years old. Single mom. I grew up in low-income housing in the city of Chicago. I understand what the needs are. I understand what they're looking for, and I understand how to communicate with everybody. I don't care what your socioeconomic status is. Everybody needs the same treatment across the board. I work for the city of Chicago as a tenant patrol manager. I went to developments every day, developments I didn't live in, that sometimes were not safe, even in the daytime. But I went because I had to fulfill the needs of the individuals that live there. I'm not afraid of that. That's not an issue. But the one thing that's most important with low-income housing is that, and I even said that before, is that you have to make sure your code enforcement department is top-notch all the time. Because a lot of people feel, even landlords sometimes feel that, oh, they low income or they have Section 8, so I don't feel like I need to repair the roof. I don't feel like I need to fix the plumbing. All that's unacceptable. Inhabitable is inhabitable, and that's all unacceptable. So as someone, as a manager, administrator, you have to make sure that everybody feels comfortable where they live. I don't care if your house is $300,000 or $10 a month. You need to be an adequate and safe environment all the time. And that's my approach to that. You just can't let people live in substandard living conditions. It's not okay. It's not comfortable. It's not good. I don't believe in people living with rodents or any of it. And I've been in, and when I tell you I've been there as an inspector, when I first got out of college, I was an inspector. I went into places where there were rodents running around and critters everywhere. Uncomfortable, but you do it. As a public official, that's what you do. If you have not signed up to roll up your pants and your sleeves, this isn't the job for you. But I've been through all of it. I've been in low-income housing. I've been in affluent housing, $1 million homes that still weren't in top-notch condition. But I have to make sure that everybody has adequate housing for me to be comfortable in any city that I'm involved in.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your time and
Thank you.
your answers to our questions,
Yes,
and
sir.
just wish you best luck, and
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.